People do to me, namely Nicole, all the time. But that's fine. That's the way she wants to win, and she has won every time.
Welcome to Cloudy with a Chance of Meeples, a channel of conversation and board games.
Hey, my name is Brent here on Cloudy with a Chance of Meeples. Today we are going to be colonizing a brand new planet, and no, it is not Mars. We will be heading to space, trying to colonize planet Maxwell in the latest edition of Alien Frontiers. Back in 2010, it originally came out. Over the last 13 years, more and more content was put out for Alien Frontiers, and now, 2023, they have a brand new edition, and it is Edition X. This, as you see on the box behind me, comes with the Outer Belt expansion, as well as a couple modules, the Factions module, as well as the Agendas module. If you're new to Alien Frontiers, much like I was before I played this, I'll show you how this game plays. If you know Alien Frontiers and wondering, I don't have all the content, do I need this version? I'll let you know. You can make that decision on your own, but I'll let you know what's in this one, how it plays, all that. Final forecast coming up. First, cue the thunder. So the radar overview for Alien Frontiers Edition X. As you see, it includes the Factions, Agendas, and Outer Belt expansion modules. I'll show you how those work momentarily, but if you're new to Alien Frontiers, much like I was before I got this, I will teach you how to play this game. This will be kind of just the Cole's Notes version. Rulebook, pretty self-explanatory or pretty easy to read. Like I said, I'd never played this game, and I found this rulebook pretty easy to understand. It's got all of the different alien tech cards, all the different locations, how they all work, just a glossary on all of them. So I feel this is a pretty decent rulebook. But in this game, you will be trying to colonize this planet. I believe it's Maxwell planet. And you will be doing that by using your ships, which come in this form of just D6 dice in different colors. You got red ones as well as blue and green. Everybody gets a specific number of colonies depending on player count. I'm going to keep mine on the board right now, but you played in front. You wouldn't put these on the board here. You'd put them on the board anyways, elsewhere. But you will be going to different locations to collect resources, then to use those resources to put your colony onto the map. I'll start up here. The solar converter will go around, tell you what all the different places are that you can place your ships, and then how it works putting your colonies on the map, alien tech cards, and then we'll move into the expansion material. So this is a worker placement with dice. On your turn, you will collect all your ships. If you have any in the maintenance bay, because you bought one a previous turn, you collect that one as well. But you start with 3 ships and you roll them. Depending on where you place your ships, you'll get different things. So if you go to the solar converter, depending on how which die you put or how many you put, will reflect on how many fuel cells you'll get. You put a 4, you get 2. 1 or 2, 1, 5 or 6, you get 3. That's pretty simple. Your ships always stay there until your next round. So you'll be blocking different areas for different players. Terraforming station, I'll get to momentarily. You can go to the shipyard. If you ever put doubles there, you can then pay the listed resources to get your 4th, 5th, and 6th ship. And you can also go to the colonist hub. First time you put a ship there, you would put one of your colonies on that little track. You put another ship there, you can move it, so on and so forth. When you make it to the end, you then can pay 1 fuel, 1 ore to move this colony onto the map. And I'll put it here for now, and I'll explain how that works momentarily. You could also go to the colony constructor. If you ever have 3 of a kind, you put them there, you pay your 3 ore, you can put another colony on the map. How do you get ore? You go to the lunar mine. Each die that is put there has to be equal or greater to the one previous. So let's imagine that the red player went and they put a 1 there. For me to go there, I would have to put, let's actually say they put a 4 there. For me to go there, I would have to put a 4 or higher. For each die I put there, or ship I should say, I gain 1 ore. You can also go to the Raiders outpost. If you ever have a strait, you can then put it there, and you can then take from another player any combination of 4 ore and fuel, or an alien tech card. And I'll explain those momentarily. You gain 2 alien tech cards up at the alien artifact. Each die you put there, you have a chance to wipe these 3 tech cards. If your sum of the dice that you put is 8 or greater, then you can take one of these cards. What do they do? Well, for instance, if you take this Chrono Spike, once per turn, you may re-roll one of your unplaced die, or one of your unplaced ships. So most of these cards have an ability at the top that you can use each round, or they also have a more powerful ability that you can use one discard ability per turn. So in this case, you would discard after placing all of your ships to re-roll 1 or 2 of your ships and reuse them at a different facility. So if you would ever use the bottom aspect of it, or bottom portion of this card, it will get discarded out of play for the rest of the game. These different cards, there's a whole bunch of them, as you can see. I will say, I don't know exactly how many. I think there's about 25-ish in the classic game. It says in the beginning of the rule book, if you want to play the classic game, if you're new to Alien Frontiers, take out specific cards. I think it's around 25. But when you play with all of these alien tech cards, it's really going to give your experience a lot more legs, because each of these cards, they do all sorts of different things. Like this data crystal, you can pay 1 fuel per colony on a territory to use that territory's bonus, which I'll get to momentarily. There's other ones that give you just straight victory points, if I can even find them. This polarity device, pay 1 fuel to flip one of your unplaced ships to the opposite face. So there's ways to manipulate your dice. There's ways to, move other ships. If someone's blocking you, you can move their ship to the maintenance bay. There's ones that just give you straight victory points. So there's a whole bunch of different alien tech cards that you can explore each and every game. Finally, the orbital market. If you go there, you put 2 of the same value there, and then you trade that many fuel for 1 ore. So if I would put 2 6s there, it wouldn't be that smart, because I'd have to trade 6 fuel for 1 ore. Of course, if you would get 2 1s, that would be your best bet, because then you can trade 1 for 1. So that's how you'll be gaining different resources and to put your colonies onto this planet. Why do you want to do that? Well, that's how you virtually win the game and get victory points, because every time you put a colony on one of these territories, you gain a victory point. If you ever control the colony, so imagine with me, in a 2-player game, I go here, I gain 1 victory point for placing my colony, and there's no other colonies on there, so I then now have the majority. I control the area, so then I gain another victory point. I also, whoever owns this or it has the control of each territory, gets gets a different bonus. So the Van Vogt Mountains, the first ship you dock at the lunar mine each turn may be of any value. So instead of doing an equal of the previous die, you can put any value. And they all do different things. Herbert Valley, you can pay less resources for other ships. If you get the Lem Badlands, you get extra fuel every time you go there. So each place has its own special ability. You can get a relic dice that get you up to 7 dice. I did mention that anytime you go to the terraforming station, you can go there. You got to put a 6 there. You pay then 1 fuel, 1 ore. You can put a colony anywhere you want. Then on your next turn, you have to discard this die, because you're pretty much using this die to place a colony. You can get it back as your 4th, 5th, or 6th ship, but that works a little bit different. You can never go less than 3 dice. That, in a nutshell, is how to win the game. So yeah, as mentioned, whoever owns the majority gets an extra victory point. So if the red player, if I had this, the red player came in and put a ship there or a colony there, they would move up 1, and now I do not own or have the majority, so I would move it down 1 victory point. And as you see, more and more ships or colonies you put on here, different players, this will be going up and down. It's kind of like fluctuating back and forth throughout the game. So that, in a nutshell, is how you play the base game. The game ends as soon as one player has put all of their different all the colonies onto the map. I will also say that you can gain control of these special things, just different fields, the isolator, repulsor, and positron field. They all do different things, gets you victory points, blocks it so no one else can use or come into that territory, blocks the special ability, all that information on the back of the player aids, as well as each player gets a card that tells you everything about all the locations. So those are really, really handy. And that is how you play Alien Frontiers. But I did say that it comes with a few other modules. It comes with the factions module as well as the agendas. And I believe that they originally came out in one expansion, but they're in this one as well. And you get faction or agendas, and these are pretty much just like secret goals. Let's just say that. So each of them have an in-game objective and an end-game objective, but you can only score one or the other. So it might be easier to get the in-game objective, but you may want to hide this card until the end to reveal it for an extra victory point or two. You can only have 3 of these, but the in-game objective for this one, when you roll 4 of a kind without manipulating your dice with the alien tech cards, you may just flip this over and gain a victory point. Or you could hold on to it till the end of the game, and if you have the majority of, in this case, Van Vogt Mountains, you would gain another victory point as well. So I would never play this game without these, to be totally honest. And there's a whole bunch of them. Gives you a little bit of direction as to where to go. You would collect these if you would ever go to the orbital market. Instead of trading for fuel for ore, you could just take some of these cards. It also comes with factions. And there's a bunch of them. They come with these nice thick cardboard placemats. They're almost like coasters. But each of them have a special ability for the owning player. So whoever has the Homesteaders Union would be able to use this one, and anybody else could use this one. So in this sense, an opposing player could visit your Homesteaders Union. They'd have to put a die there, pay you a fuel, and then they would be able to move their colony one space further if they are putting ships at the colonist hub. Whereas the owner of this would be able to launch their colony at the 6th spot, instead of the 7th. So each of them have a different special ability that anybody can use, and one different one that only the owner can use. So that's pretty cool. And then finally, the last expansion is the Outer Belt, and I'll just put it to the side here. I'll scoot this over, make a little bit of a mess of the rest of the game here, but you get an extra board, a sideboard known as the Outer Belt board, and it would just go here. It would line up with the moon. It gives you another place that you can put your colonies and another ability that you can gain. And let's move these out of the way here. And it comes with an asteroid die as well as another deck of asteroid cards, and these will just give you different ways to get resources. So this orbital pilot, change one unplaced die to a 1 or a 2. Do that once per turn. This hyperspace pilot, you can pay a fuel to change an unplaced ship to a 5 or a 6. So this one, composite asteroid, you can discard this card to receive 2 fuel and 1 ore. So just different ways to gain different resources, manipulate your die, steal some things from different people. And these will go on this asteroid belt. And this is kind of like something they'll just move along. Imagine with it, pretend that it's just a belt, obviously, hence the name. On your turn with your ships, you would also roll this little black die. If it ever shows the asteroid, then these cards would then just move. So they would all move down, and you'd place a new one. To enable to buy, in order to buy it, you would have to pay specific dice. So this says you have to put a 6 and a standard navigation die, and each set has a different set of standard navigation dice. So it would be either a 6 and a 1 or a 6 and a 2. You put them there. This would be 2 the same, 2 the same, 2 the same. So they do different things. Some of them you have to wait until your next turn to play. Some of them activate immediately. But this just gives you more options as to where to put your dice, and just brings in more variety and just more stuff to think about when you are trying to win Alien Frontiers. So there you have it. That, in a nutshell, is Alien Frontiers Edition X. Let's now move over and check out the final forecast. So the final forecast for Alien Frontiers, as mentioned at the top of the video, before I got this copy, I had never played or never heard of Alien Frontiers. Came out in 2010. I got into the hobby around 2015. I had not played this. I had not heard of it. And so I came into this as a brand new person to this whole franchise. And I looked at BGG and saw, you know what? It's a well-received game. It's got a bunch of expansions, the Outer Belt expansion, a few modules. It's got the agendas, the factions, more alien tech cards. So there was quite a bit of content for this game over the last 13 years. This version comes with all of that content. I will say this. It comes with the Outer Belt, which it says in the rulebook you can play with 5 or 6 players. But this doesn't come with components for a 5th and 6th player count, which on the board it shows iconography that for 5 you can't go to certain locations unless you have 5 players on the Outer Belt expansion board. But that was a little weird. If this is like a true big box, they didn't put enough content for more than 4 players. It is what it is. The components, I will say this, the standard D6 dice, standard colors. I know the whole motif of this game is kind of like the classic 50s, 60s space exploration. I get that. That's all right. But if they wanted to do a truly big box, they could have put that 5th and 6th player components in, as well as maybe just made the dice a little bit cooler looking. But they kind of stuck to their guns in the whole motif of the franchise. So it is what it is. That's all right. But like I said, I never played the game. The rulebook laid out nicely. It was really easy to learn this game. It's got rules for the classic game. We're only using about 22, 25 of the alien tech cards. I thought that was cool. That was a cool way for Nicole and I to just ease into this game. There's a lot of iconography in this game. I will say that. The board, it makes sense now that I've played it a handful of times. But the first couple of times, I was like, I don't know what that means. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Kept going back to the rule book again and again. But after we played it a handful of times, I can play this pretty quick. It says it plays 60 to 90 minutes. I think Nicole and I can play this game in around 45, 2 players. So it plays pretty quick. Setup is pretty quick. You just shuffle a couple decks of cards and you're good to go. But I love worker placement, and this is fun worker placement. It kind of reminds me of Creature Comforts in a way, which is a newer game, but it's kind of got that whole roll dice placement. And I know many games do that nowadays. I know Kingsburg is another one. Classic, I guess we would say. I haven't played that one, but it kind of uses the same mechanics. Your workers are dice. I think like Coimbra does that. But yeah, a bunch of games have done this concept since this came out in 2010. And this is just a fun worker dice placement, dice placement game. Collecting resources, trading those resources in for colonies, for ships, to colonize this planet that you're, having area control over. And I like that whole tug of war battle with area control and how the scores fluctuate throughout the game. And so overall, the base game, no expansions, is a lot of fun. I feel the factions expansion module or whatever, the agendas. This came out originally with the factions and the agendas, I believe. This agendas expansion module, I will never play this, and I actually never played this. I played this from the beginning, and this is just direction. It's got in-game objective or an end-game objective, and you can only use one or the other. In-game may be a little bit easier. The end of the game may be kind of like that, scores are tied or really close, and you flip over your 2 agenda cards to get the win. So it's got a little bit of a push your luck aspect in that. Never play without them. I think it's fantastic, and I love games that have those secret, personal objectives. The factions, haven't played with all of them. There's 15. I like that these boards are actual, boards. They're wrapped like a normal game board, and there's a lot of iconography on this, but luckily every one of these factions comes with a player aid showing what the owning player gets, and then on the reverse, what a visitor player how they can activate it, and they're all different. So I think there's like 15 of these, so that's another like 30 special abilities or powers, ways to manipulate dice, ways to, you know, manipulate the board and whatnot. So factions, I am really excited to dive into these factions more and more. Like I said, I haven't played this enough to play all the factions, but I have enjoyed the factions. The alien tech cards, this is where to me the game truly shines. The original has, like I said, 25 of them, and I think those 25 cards, they synergize like really well. There's the, you know, Alien City for Victory Point, Alien Monument for Victory Point, and so it has some cards that specifically give you victory points. And if you're familiar with the game, you kind of fight over those cards. When you bring in all the alien tech cards, every game is going to feel rather different because there's so many of them. It will dilute this deck. I understand that. It will dilute this deck, but I feel lots of people are going to go to the alien artifact location to cycle through these cards. And there's even cards in this that let you, you know, have a remote location kind of in the alien artifacts, so you can still see these cards and get these cards. The Raiders Outpost, lots of people are going to be stealing these cards. So this game does have a fair amount of interaction and, you know, thwarting other people's plans, you know, doing the whole area control and stuff. So it has a lot of that. I'm not the biggest fan of that, to be honest, but I actually don't even know if I've ever gone to the Raiders Outpost and stolen anything from anybody. People do to me, namely Nicole, all the time, but that's fine. That's the way she wants to win, and she has won every time. But maybe I need to learn from that and go to the Raiders Outpost. But anyways, there is player interaction, so that may not be something that many people like, or you may not like that. But the alien tech cards, I love this. Like this, to me, like I love it. Seismic detonator, discard or remove from the game. To move one colony in one territory to adjacent territory of your choice, blocked by the R, which is the repulsor field. So there's ways to like push around in this area control planet. Pay 1 to add 1 point to unplaced ships. You know, after gathering your fleet, gain 1 fuel for each of your opponent's ship docked at the solar converter. So people are going to the solar converter, higher player counts. You don't need to go there because you have the solar harvester. So there's tons and tons and tons of different cards that will be able to get you, you know, different resources, push people around, all sorts of things. So this is where the game shines for me. Final thing, the Outer Belt expansion. I've kind of read online that lots of people really like the Outer Belt expansion. It gives more variety, more places to go to. I found that to be personally more of just a distraction because there's already lots of places to go to. And the Outer Belt, you know, you roll an extra die every time, and then those cards cycle through. And yes, so some of them are really cool where, you know, pay fuel to flip a die to a 5 or 6 or, you know, different things like that. So there are cool ways to manipulate your dice if you have some like terrible luck and you're not rolling what you need to. But those cards move around and then you need to have specific ones in specific areas. I just thought it was a little bit of a deterrent. And then a lot of the cards, you buy them, but then they only activate on your next turn. Someone could steal them by then. So I don't know. Wasn't a big fan of the Outer Belt, but the factions, the agendas, giant deck of alien tech cards, absolutely love this. Those aspects of this game. Like I said, I was brand new to Alien Frontiers before or when I got this, and I love this game. It is so much fun. Like I said, kind of reminds me of Creature Comforts and many of these other games that have done dice placement, but this came out so many years before. And I think with all this extra content in this version, it feels like a game that came out in the recent years, not like a game that came out almost 15 years ago. So overall, if you are a fan of, you know, space themes, dice placement, worker placement, anything like that, ways to upgrade not your ships, but to get like special abilities, this and that, I recommend Alien Frontiers. I'm going to give an 80% chance of meeples. I'm excited to dive into this more and more in the years to come. 80% chance of meeples for Alien Frontiers Edition X. I will say it's being released at PAX East. I should have said at the top of the video, but being released at PAX East. So, there you have it. Alien Frontiers, 80% Chance of Meeples. My name is Brent. Check us out on Facebook, Cloudy with a Chance of Meeples. Remember, grab your umbrella. The forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember to grab your umbrella because the forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.